That's a lot. I don't know. Just make sure that the license is left.
No.
It's better.
Okay, starting out with the restricted fund balance. Started with the beginning balance of $7,217,000. We had revenue of $2,614,000. We had expenditures of $1,424,000, bringing the ending balance to $8,407,000. Moving on to the commission expenditure and revenue report. Revenues for the month were $1,834,000. Personnel expenditures of $447,000. Operating at $18,000, bringing total expenditures to $465,000. Testing, revenue for the month was $780,000. Personnel expenditures of $443,000. Operating expenditures of $408,000. Total expenditures for the month of $851,000. Okay.
Is it anticipated that the petrol fund will have a budget surplus plus the analysis of that?
Yes.
What's the estimate of that?
I haven't done any estimates at this point because we have a substantial amount of expenditures going out in May. Mostly I think for promotions, but we're at 66% and we should be about 85.
We took a cursory look. There's at least 700,000 at a minimum, at a conservative estimate.
I just want to get to expect, on a conservative basis, if things go as planned, that you will have an excess of about 6 or 7 million.
Yes, easily. Promotion. There was no revenue. That's an annual transfer. Expenditures were $103,000 for the month.
All right.
Moving on to the comparative financial statements. You can see the revenue is down only about 3%, so we're right in line. Moving on to expenditures, personnel is down up about 2%, which is the cost of living increase. So that's right in line with where it should be. Going down to total operating, you can see that's down about 20%. And again, the largest causing that large decrease is the UPenn contract, because we had even payment streams throughout the year this year. The payments are stretched out. Last year we had a lot of catch-up payments that were made. The other large item is the other rental and leases for the lab equipment. So because the lease payments had stopped. So Sal, that's where your excess funding is coming from, testing, because we had budgeted for those 12 months of payments when there was only ended up being 3. So, yeah, okay. So that makes up the bulk of the expenditures and why they're down. Overall, they're down about 6% in total, so pretty comparative, nothing unusual at this point.
Okay, Tracy, thank you.
I just have one last question. Last year we had concern with the governor's budgeted amount and the actual amount that you're spending. Have we looked at what the budget proposal is for the racing commission and for the petrol versus what the actual budget may be? If we look at that.
We had discussed that in the fall and approved it. We're not really seeing any changes there.
But we're not going to review budget.
Yeah, but we had discussed that last fall. You approved last fall the budget that starts in July.
So we're going to be okay.
Yes. Again, you're going to have excess dollars in those lease payments because we didn't realize they were ending. We will correct that for your 2021 budget, which we'll do this fall. But again, you'll have some excess dollars sitting in that line next fiscal year also.
Tracy. We have a motion to accept the April financial report.
I will make such a motion.
Commissioner DeVito on the motion, Commissioner Benheiser on the second. Any discussion, further discussion of the budget? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the April financial report as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, the item 3 in the Meadows proposed remove of passing lanes. Table. Okay. And Dr. Robinson, up for petrol limbs discussion.
Good afternoon. We're going to start with the LIMS discussion. So LIMS stands for Laboratory Information Management System. We have a system currently that helps us to track all of the samples that we're receiving at the laboratory and track their progress through our testing, and then report out the results on all of those samples. The system that we're currently using has not met our needs very well for quite some time. It's a system that was handed to the laboratory, and we had to try and implement it and make it work back in 2005. And so it does very limited reporting for us, is really what it comes down to. And the service that they've been providing us has not been good, has not met our needs. And so we've been shopping around for another LIMS system to find something that would better meet our needs. We pulled the other racing laboratories to find out what they were using, and then we had extensive demonstrations performed by 2 of the top candidates, and we have chosen a final candidate that we recommend we would like to move to. And this system, once it's paid for, the actual annual maintenance costs are less. And so, however, the system has quite a few additional capabilities that our current system does not have. For example, when getting these reports together for our legal hearings and such, it will be able to do that automatically instead of the long process that we're using right now to create them using basically Microsoft Word programs. So I would like to request that the Commission consider purchasing this new LIMS system for the laboratory. We will run it side by side for 6 months to a year to validate it against our current system, and then at that time we would be able to discontinue with using the current system and move to the new system.
I think for our understanding of the public's understanding, would you explain what the cost of that is one shot?
Sure. So to purchase the new system, it's approximately $390,000. Once that system that's a one-time cost that purchases all the licenses that we need to use the system. Each user that's using the system gets a license. That also purchases the training and as well as just the implementation of the new system within our framework, within the laboratory. And then the annual maintenance costs of the system are approximately $26,000 per year. Which is down significantly from the current maintenance costs, which are about $105,000 per year for our current system.
And that will be coming out of the petrol companies.
That's my understanding.
It will come out of the testing budget. And the 2 other points I would make, NATC no longer licenses the current system, and CAI is getting out of the business. They provide the support for the system. So Petrol is one organization out of many, not only in Pennsylvania but across the country, that is looking for a new vendor.
So really, to summarize, we really have a choice but to make this, but we end up now coming up with something that's specific to our industry rather than general users of what before.
I think as Dr. Robinson said, originally the lab was given something that, with a lot of gyrations and movement, worked through a lot of manual effort. Unfortunately, not only is Petrol in this area looking for a new vendor and a new support staff, this is happening across the country.
With that, I will make a motion to use an additional.
You gotta wait till...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Any further questions for Dr. Robinson? So the decision's made, when would this happen?
Well, as soon as we have the funds available, we can go ahead with the purchase order and make it happen immediately.
You said it was a 6 months transition from the two?
Yes, we'll have to run them side by side for 6 months to up to a year to make sure that we validate the new system.
So we're probably looking at January 1 of 2020, when this would actually take over approximately?
At the earliest, yes.
Okay, no further questions on the LIMS purchase. Let's go to the 1920 budget modification.
There were a couple of modifications to the budget that was approved in September of 2018 for the UPenn contract. The most significant of which is an increase in the administration support percentage from 5% to 12%. That increase is as a result of a couple of things. One is that UPenn is going to be taking on all of the IT support for the petrol laboratory. Currently, it has been supported by PDA, the Department of Agriculture IT office, which has been very difficult, of course, because all of the personnel from that office are located in Harrisburg. And so we have not been able to get really the support that we need from them. And in addition, the infrastructure is extremely outdated at Petrol. We have a very old T1 line. We've had frequent outages in our connectivity and inability to use the internet to be able to do the work that we need to do. And so as a result, we had some discussions with PDA IT folks and have decided that it would be in everybody's best interest to move the oversight of the IT at Petrol to the University of Pennsylvania. And that also makes things a little bit easier because most of the employees are UPenn employees, and so they'll be able to access all of their online things through a UPenn connection instead of through a state computer. The existing state employees will also be able to access all of their information through the UPenn computers without any problem. So there is an increase in the administrative support line to reflect those changes. And I believe the only other change, primary change, is that we did have someone retire this year from the laboratory, and that position is going to be repurposed on the Penn contract, and so there was a slight increase in the personnel line of the Penn contract to reflect transferring the salary benefits for that original position over to the Penn contract from the Department of Agriculture. Are there any questions regarding the budget changes requested?
I think again for the public, if you would tell us the amount.
The numbers?
Yeah.
Yep. So for, in the personnel line, the number was changed from 2.198 million to 2.246 million. And in the administration line, the number has changed from 163,911 to 404,611. And the total change in the contract is from 3.4 million to 3.8 million.
Any further questions about the modification? If not, there'll be an action item here in just a moment. Any further questions for Dr. Robbins? Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, administrative actions, Tom?
Okay. Motion for numbers 6 and 7. I would request the motion. The motions are to approve simulcast calendars for the harness tracks, Harris, Mohegan Sun, and the Meadows. From 7 is a motion to approve simulcast calendars for Parks, Penn, and Prescott. Mr. Chairman, I respectfully request the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have a motion to accept items 6 and 7?
So moved.
Commissioner Lark and Commissioner Ellis in the second discussion of these two items. Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting and approving the items 6 and 7, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
I need a motion to approve Penn National's request to add the following import tracks for simulcasting in 2019. Century Mile, Alberta, Canada, Colonial Downs in Virginia, Virginia Gold Cup races, and Century Mile in Alberta, Canada. Mr. Chairman, I respectfully request a motion.
Thank you, Tom. We have a motion to approve. Dr. Aguilar on the motion? Yes. Second? Second. Commissioner Jones on the second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Number 9 on your agenda, a motion to approve the Meadows request to adjust the wagering format for its 12 and 13 race programs.
Thank you, Tom. We have a motion to approve number 9.
So moved.
Commissioner Ellis on the motion, Commissioner Lark on the second. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
On number 10, motion to approve the purchase of the new limb system for petrol.
I will make such a motion.
Okay, Commissioner DeBunda on the motion. Do we
I
have a
will second the motion, and just so the public knows, it appears that we will be able to recover the $390,000 in approximately 5 years from the difference in the maintenance cost.
Very good, thank you. And Commissioner Rogers on the second. Discussion, further discussion of the motion. You heard Dr. Robinson's presentation. Hearing none, all those approving the purchase of the limb system for petrol, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions?
I abstain as I'm a University of Pennsylvania employee.
For the record, one abstention. Motion carries. Thank you.
The next motion, number 11, motion to approve the 2019-2020 budget modification for petrol.
Okay, we have a motion, Commissioner DeBunda on the motion. We have a second. Commissioner Jones on the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of approving the 1920 budget modification for petrol as presented by Dr. Robinson, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions?
I abstain again for the same reason as an employee.
Okay, duly noted. Motion carries. Thank you.
The next motion is for PHRA marketing grant, and I made an error. I should have had this up in the presentation before the motion. With that, Pete and your group, would you kindly come up and make the presentation?
Just a reminder that this microphone, you've got to hold it fairly close to be effective.
Thank you. So as the item is on the agenda, Pete Peterson, President, Pennsylvania Horse Racing Association.
Ashley Eisenbiel, Marketing Director for the Pennsylvania Horse Racing Association.
I'm Andrew Dembski. I'll be working with Ashley in marketing.
Thank you. So the grant application put forward by the PHRA really covers 3 different areas. One is brand influencing, our brand influencer or brand ambassador, native advertising, and then the educational component. So in the spring of this year, the PHRA made the decision to hire a brand ambassador, Andrew Dembski, to share with us today, aka Shades, to help tell the story of Pennsylvania horse racing through his eyes and through his voice. Andrew has excellent credentials. He comes to us showing his paddock host at Tampa Bay Downs and as well as Presque Isle. He's also a production manager for several minor league baseball teams as well. And he has extensive background, not only as kind of a video host and on-air personality, but also in video production and as a handicapper. So he brings a number of skill sets to the association, and his video production skills as well can help us to cut down on some of the expenses for producing videos for social media and for our website. So, as I mentioned earlier, the proposal we submitted has several components to help execute our strategy. Regarding Andrew and as a brand ambassador, that includes onboarding, coaching, and then the next piece, which is the tactic called native advertising. So the goal is really to raise the visibility of the organization. We recognize it may come with some challenges. Andrew will be thrown a variety of different questions, some tougher questions than others from the news media about the sport of horse racing. So we want to make sure that he has this, additional training. He's already has extensive background experience, but we just want to make sure he has additional training on to ensure he's onboarded properly. So we have identified the resources for that in the proposal. The second piece is the native advertising. So the association has had pretty significant success in earned media, pitching stories to the news media. Over the past several months, we've done stories in newspapers, a variety of newspapers around the state, as well as several television interviews. But there's a number of stories we want to tell that aren't necessarily getting picked up by traditional media. So that's where native advertising comes in. And native advertising, you basically write, edit, and produce news stories. You also have photos to go along with it. You have pictures, videos, infographics, multimedia type formats. And those stories are then placed on a variety of news sites as sponsored ads for native advertising. So basically those news sites, those stories get delivered on news sites across the state to our targeted demographics that are seeking to attract this sport of horse racing. So for example, it could appear on Car and Driver, ESPN, WGAL, WTAE in Pittsburgh, 6ABC in Philadelphia, and Jet 24 in Erie. So they would host these news stories on their site as kind of sponsored, paid-for ads. And we have a couple different stories in the works. We're going to go with two to start, kind of gauge the reaction and feedback and success, and then we'll take the next step and try to produce some more. So Ashley's going to talk a little bit about educational efforts.
Good afternoon. So, as you know, I am very passionate about educating our youth. They are the future of the industry, so we need to get them while they're young and get them hooked in. So I would like to continue my work with the 4-H, with the fair harness racing program that we have in place, and go to some new fairs this year that have not had us be there from the past 2 years, along with expanding our educational to parks racing and the thoroughbred side and Penn National. I also would like to try and go to one of the thoroughbred breeding farms to host a 4-H event there. Along with, that's a big task that I've given myself with all these extra events, but to help with that, I think I came up with a way that we can also even further educate, is getting a summer intern that is a equine science major to help with these educational programs and work with us throughout the summer as a paid internship.
Thank you. One quick comment in the spirit of explaining this. Last June or July, the Commission allocated funds out to different groups, the Horsemen's Group, Breeders Group, PHRA. At that time, under my direction, we held $200,000 in abeyance. $100,000 went to the fairs because this commission allocated $5,000 per fair for marketing and promotion. As you're aware, when the year ends, to carry over, there were 2 items that we needed to cover, totaling $50,000. We spent about $20,000 between the farm show, advertising, and a booth, and a couple other things. The balance in the account, which will bring it to zero, is $30,000. That's what the request is for.
Thank you, Tom. Questions on the proposal for the team?
I don't have a question on the proposal, but since I have you here, I'm going to ask you. There's been a lot of publicity.
Talk in the mic.
There's been a lot of publicity recently about the horse racing problems. You're a marketing group. Are you getting contacted by the media about that, even though you're a marketing group and not a representative of the organization? And how are you deflecting or dealing with those?
Yes, we've received several requests. One was from Penn Live before they ran their story. The other was from the NPR station in Harrisburg area, asking us to be a guest on their program. The general view of the board of the PHRA is that we are a marketing and advertising promotion promotional organization, and they have, we kind of received direction, and I agree with it, that it's not the position of the PHRA or the place of the PHRA to weigh in on, discussing regulatory issues or veterinary type issues.
You're reflecting those to the members of the coalition?
Yes, we're referring them to the members, the individual, horsemen organizations and breeders organizations in the state.
I agree with your conclusion, I just want to make sure the record showed how
Absolutely.
we handle that.
The 4-H, it's a great organization and important to many of us. Have you spoken to Penn State, the Director of Extension?
Yes, I've been working with Andrea. We've actually done some events already this year with them, and we do have these, we had to get something scheduled, so I went ahead and scheduled one for 4-H, and we'll get into our budget if those are approved to make sure we do those events that we did already schedule with them, so.
Thank you. Further questions? For Ashley, Pete, or Andrew, AKA? Any questions, further questions? Okay, if not, we'll do the motion, right? Okay. Okay.
Second.
Commissioner Redheiser on the motion, Commissioner DeBundo on the second. Further discussion of PHRA's marketing grant request for $30,000.
I'd like to just comment on your recent economic impact video that you put together. I thought it was very timely, and I think it was very well done. Thank you.
Good. Okay, we have a motion second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving this grant request for PHRA say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, George, timed out.
Mr. Chairman, we have two ratifications. The first one is the timed workouts, which is an existing regulation in 58 PA Code, Section 163.132. And just for the record, there was a request last month made by a horsemen's group at Penn National seeking a change in the existing timed workout regulation, which it has a period of 30 days, and they wish to move it to 45 days. This commission directed its bureau director to issue the initial order, and then this commission would then review that order. And so this would be the following ratification order. And now this 28th day of May 2019, the commission hereby ratifies and adopts the interim order and Annex A issued by the Director of Thoroughbred Horse Racing on May 10, 2019, which specifically amended an outdated provision in the Commission's existing regulation at 58 PA Code 163.132 relating to timed workouts as a temporary regulation. The Director's interim order, this ratification order, and attached Annex A modifying the 30-day provision and increasing it to 45-day time period shall be published in the Pennsylvania Bulletin and shall be posted on the Commission's website. That can be done as one motion.
Thank you, George. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Sweeney on the motion, Commissioner Rogers on the second. Discussion of this motion on the interim order of temporary regulations of time workouts. Hearing none, all those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Yes, two harness individuals have to abstain.
Okay. So two abstentions? Okay. All right. So two abstentions, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Next matter is actually just a little bit of housekeeping. I have a proposed delegation of duties order for the Director of the Bureau of Standardbred Horse Racing. Pursuant to the Racing Act, the Commission can delegate the day-to-day operations to its Bureau Directors, and I wanted to put it in a form of an order. And now this 28th day of May 2019, it is hereby ordered that pursuant to Section 9311 D2 of the Horse Race Industry Reform Act, Anthony J. Salerno is authorized to discharge the day-to-day licensing, enforcement, and administrative operations of the Commission including but not limited to making any initial decisions regarding its appeals, hearings, coming before the Commission, review, approve, and coordinate budgetary matters with the Department, and exercise all of the powers and duties expressly enumerated in Section 9311D3 of the Act. Notwithstanding the above, the Commission shall retain the exclusive and final regulatory authority and jurisdiction over the conduct of horse racing and all pari-mutuel wagering activities within the Commonwealth as expressly set forth in the Act. This delegation order is subject to the Commission's ongoing review and approval and may be modified at any time by the Commission. That can be the form of the motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Larkin on the motion. Do we have a second? Commissioner Brennheiser on the second. Discussion of the motion.
No discussion, but for the record, the 2 thoroughbred designees have to abstain.
Any discussion? Delegation? Tony? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. And abstentions? We have 2 abstentions. Motion carries. Thank you. I want to take a moment to say thanks to Tom for stepping in on the interim, double duty, did it with a smile, good natured. Just want to say thanks. Well,
How about that smile?
it's a public meeting. No, but seriously, I mean, anybody who steps into positions and picks up on others' duties and does that, very appreciative. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Under old business, with the advent of Tony coming on board, we had not conducted out of competition testing since last month. We are scheduled to do probably 200 to 300 over the summer. We will catch up and we will be in excess of last year. One other point on another subject, Mark. It's that time of year where we'll probably get the group back together. It's time for allocation. It's time for the Commission to approve the funding for 2019 and 2020. That being said, the Commission would like in June the groups that received funds to come forward, explain the money they got, and in general what they did with it. It does not have to be a long, drawn-out process. Just how much you got, what you did with it, and the good and the bad. Should be a short presentation. I'll send out emails to the group individually, but since the majority is here, I just wanted everybody to be aware. General reports. Let's start with Mr. Johnson in the Penn Mile and Penn National.
Just want to take a few minutes real quick to remind everybody that Saturday is the Penn Mile, and I'd like to extend an invitation to everybody. Love to see everybody come out to the races on Saturday. Special post time at 2:45, and I will tell you this card is shaping up to be the best we've ever had. So we're very excited about it. We've got 8 stage races, a lot of great betting opportunities. We'll be included as part of a cross-country pick 5 at the Denine Ridge out of New York. So it's going to be a huge day. Hopefully everybody can make it out. Thank you.
Pretty sure no other racetrack directors wanted to speak. Did I miss anybody on the racetrack director's side? Well, then we'll jump right to Mr. Beagle. Mr. Hankins?
No report.
Mr. Velezzi?
No report.
Todd's taking the day off. Mike, Jim?
No report.
Brian?
Attaboy, Brian. Let us.
Good afternoon. First, what I'd like to do is introduce the new president of the Pennsylvania Horse Breeders Association. Greg Newell has been a breeder and an owner for quite some time now, and he's been serving currently as our vice president. So, Greg.
Thank you, Brian. I jokingly say I was the last person standing when the music stopped and was elected president, but actually it's quite an honor. I think I'm stepping in at a great time. Things over the last 2 to 3 years have really picked up. Really excited about the direction. not only an increase in number of mares, but the stallions have come on board and so forth. So I think part of my job is not to screw that up, but really excited. As Brian said, I've been in it 12 to 15 years. I have an engineering business, and my primary thing is with that, but my passion and avocation is the horse racing industry and the equine world as well, and competition, equestrian type stuff, and so forth. So I'm thrilled for this opportunity. I look forward to work with Brian and the board as best we can to continue to promote this wonderful sport and to help the breeders. There's lots of small breeders. They invest their life savings and their heart into this industry, and we're there to try to help make that be successful. So thank you.
Okay, in your packet, you can see that the horse racing, the breeding fund transfers are up through April approximately $1.1 million. And a copy of the June Mid-Atlantic Thoroughbred is attached. And our 40th annual Iroquois Banquet at the Hershey Hotel is Friday night, June 7th. Starts at 5:30. I did hear back from a couple of people, but if anyone's interested, please let me know. Any questions? Thank you.
The last item, in the last meeting, Commissioner Jones discussed a series of issues, LASIX, whips, public perception, scientifics, and so on. Since that meeting, Dr. Langlois sent a letter to the Commission, which the Commission looked at previously and had a discussion today. The Commission recognizes the importance of the industry, both Thoroughbred and Standardbred, and the outstanding issues that we're facing today. Dr. Langlois, you outlined the majority of them. I think the Commission's well aware of it. The Commission is directing staff to form a group. The group will consist of 3 commissioners, Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Egloff, and Commissioner Sweeney. They'll call upon the 4 horsemen's groups and the 2 breeders' groups. It will include 1 representative from a thoroughbred racetrack, 1 representative from a standardbred racetrack. It will include 2 vets, 1 from the harness side, 1 from the thoroughbred side, and 1 representative, Dr. Langlois, from the wagering, the betting side of the table. We'll leave that up to you to decide who that will be. If you could just let me know, I'd appreciate it. The purpose, this is the initial group. It may expand, it may constrict. Right now, Tony and I will be reaching out to set this meeting up. If there are participants that are not presently included, don't worry about it. That can change. The Commission has thought about trainers and owners and so on. But let's start with the manageable group. And the purpose is obviously to discuss the issues that are at the forefront facing racing today. And that can be racing medications, it can be LASIX, it can be whips, the public perception, medication and science versus public perception. I will be reaching out, and Tony will be reaching out to the group. I think Commissioner Jones wanted to.
Yeah, I'm glad we're making a move in this direction. I'm glad to be working on that committee. The bad news just doesn't seem to stop. In the last 9 days, there have been 3 more horses lost in California. Senator Dianne Feinstein has now called for suspension of racing at Santa Anita. I read just recently in Daily Racing Form an article by Mike Watchmaker regarding New England racing. As you know, they had their last day at Suffolk, or maybe you don't know it, but they had their last day at Suffolk Downs recently, and the only hope of future racing in New England is what was formerly the Great Barrington Fair. I've been there. I don't know whether anybody else has been there, but it was a beautiful little track. It's shuttered down. They've got a lot of hoops to jump through before they get it open and get it running. but in their initial discussions of this, one of the opposition parties has been local residents that are concerned about the welfare of the horses. Now, Great Barrington ran for, it's one of the oldest fairs. I think it began in the late 70s, 1870s, and ran up until it was shuttered probably 30 years ago. This was part of the community, it was part of the heritage of that area, and now the negative PR from what's happening in terms of horses getting injured and bad publicity for the industry, it rears its head here before this place can even get up and running. It's just one more example of what we're facing in terms of public perception. And so I am glad that we have formed this group today, and I'm glad to be part of it. And I think we're all determined to work at it. Really work at it as a group, because the future of what we all have and what we love is at stake. It gets eroded every time you turn around. And I think that we in Pennsylvania can be leaders in beginning a reversal of what's happening. So I welcome this opportunity, and I welcome the opportunity to work with the group that Tom has discussed. And hopefully in a few months we'll have something better to tell you. Thanks.
Commissioner, thank you. Okay, Commissioner White, you want to give us an update on the fair season?
Sure.
Fair guide, we've got a copy in front of us.
The fair booklets are done and out and about. Certainly appreciate this. Puts the focus on the fairs and all the different sections of the state. And it's very well done, very pleased. Let's see everybody at the fairs. Thank you.
Other comments, issues to raise? No public comments? Okay. Stephanie, don't look so eager. Good luck to you. We'll end where we began, with simple things. Appreciate your good work. All the best to you. Mike, thanks for stepping in. Very much appreciate that. Any final comments? If not, we'll take a motion to adjourn. Okay. Everybody said yes. Thanks.